Welcome. I am Letitia Crippen here at OIC of America. Welcome to our newest edition, newest episode of our Women in Workforce Wind Down Wednesday. I am so thrilled to have you with us tonight. I am so stoked for tonight's conversation. I don't know, I say that every time, but I really mean it this time. So, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, again, my name is Letitia Crippen. I'm the Senior Manager of Communications and Digital Content at OIC of America. We have this chat, this discussion every other Wednesday for our women in workforce. And during this time, we are asking women who are working in any field, but they are working women. We ask them to join us to pour into the other women, pour into some of the men that join us as well, and really share all of the parts of their journeys, all the learnings, all the research that they have come across, and sharing different ways that we can grow as women in the workforce, build each other up as women in the workforce, and ultimately be successful women at work. And we know through COVID, there's been so many things that's been happening that has deeply impacted women specifically. Some of our jobs have gone away. They're not coming back. Some of us are not able to return to our careers because we're at home taking care of the houses. And so there are a lot of different women in a lot of different spaces today. And so we're here to cater to everyone. This night is also dedicated to women in our SOAR program. OIC of America operates a national program, workforce development program for women, men, young adults, all of those above who are impacted or involved in the justice system. And we know that that population needs support more than ever. And so, Wind Down Wednesday is also a time for us to pour into one of our participants in our SOAR program and really pour into them with our treasures, with donations. And so, we are going to ask you to join us in supporting one of our SOAR participants, Miss Tanika, who is a participant at Rocky Mount OIC. We've been talking about Tanika for the last few wind down sessions in preparation to get her ready for the new school year. She's been working hard. She is so awesome in our program. She's completed all of her obligations and she's on her way. She's working, but she's got little ones at home, and we know what the school season can bring. So we're just asking those to text to give to OI. I'm sorry. Text to give by texting OICA to 45777 to put a little bit of dollars in Miss Tanika's pocket so she can pay for those school clothes and all those school supplies, because we know that can be a heavy lift. So I think I've taken care of a lot of our house duties, if you will. I left one important part. Let me tell you a little bit about OIC of America. I know we have some newcomers tonight. OIC of America is a 50-year-old historically black institution founded by the late great Dr. Reverend Leon H. Sullivan in Philadelphia in an abandoned jailhouse. And so there's no surprise that we started the SOAR program that's serving returning citizens across the country, because we started out of an abandoned jailhouse and we turned it into a place where people can thrive in their communities. Excuse me. So, OIC of America, we have 30 affiliates across 21 states. We're all the way up in the farthest corner of Washington State, all the way down in Miami, Florida. We have folks in Louisiana, in the Midwest, in Minneapolis. So we have a nice portion of the country covered, and we are just really in my opinion, one of the leaders in workforce development, working right in the community, serving those who need the help the most. So thank you all for supporting OIC of America. Thank you for supporting the OICs across our country by joining us tonight for our Women in Workforce Wind Down Wednesday. I always like to ask some people what they're drinking tonight. You know, it is a wind down, it's after hours. Hopefully, some of you have gotten your children in bed. I have not, so you guys might hear mine in the background. But what are you drinking? Is it water? Is it wine? Is it your favorite smoothie, nighttime smoothie? I'd like to know. So put it in the chat. Show everybody some love. Tell us where you're joining us from in the chat because we'd love to know. So, without further ado, I am going to move into my favorite part of this night, introducing our guest. Because let me tell you about this woman. She is, a lot of you know, I talk to the guests before we come on, and I really try to get to understand who they are, who they were before they joined, before they reached the level that they're at, that we would like to discuss in their careers, just their journey and their history. And I really want to make sure everybody knows that we are focusing on that because when you think about women in work, some of us, or successful people in general, some of us look at individuals and say, hey, they're doing great, and you think that it just happened that way, and there is a journey, there's a pathway, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that no one gets to talk about, no one gets to hear about, and no one gets to learn about some of the lessons learned that those individuals have experienced. So tonight we're really going to narrow in on a lot of those things with our next guest because I think it's really important. And so if anyone who is watching today has a question for our guest, I am encouraging you to put the question in the chat and we will try our best to get to it if we can. But I'm pretty sure you're going to have a question after you get a chance to meet our next guest. So I am going to bring up Miss Alicia Banks. Let me tell you about Miss Alicia Banks before she comes up. She is from Newark, Bricks. Okay. I think this is the second Newark native we've had on this series. Newark native, she is the epitome of strong Black women working her way through corporate America. She holds a master's degree in communications and leadership from Seton Hall and a BA in international culture and economics from Bentley University. She is a smart woman. And when I think about Alicia and what she's going to bring to the table, I cannot say it enough how honored I am, if you will. I mean, I know I didn't pick out a really fancy word, but how honored I am to have the senior vice president of talent from Columbia Bank with us tonight. So without further ado, let me bring up our next guest, Miss Alicia Banks. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I am so happy to have you here. So
Okay,
happy.
happy to be here. And good evening to all of the wonderful women and men that are out there that have joined us. Good evening.
Good evening. And so you see, I came a little more corporate-y today. I try to get a little more. I said, we're doing a corporate America discussion today. So I gotta, so I did my thing and we're matching. So I love that. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Miss Banks. I know I use a Thank you for joining us.
You can call me Alicia.
Oh, Miss Alicia, I know. You know what? It's just so, when I'm in front of bossed up women, it's really hard. It's really hard. And I call some of my colleagues Miss or Mr. sometimes because it is really hard. And everyone's going to have a really good opportunity to understand why I come with so much respect to today's conversation. Before I get into my 101 questions, because I have a ton of them. What are you drinking? Do you have anything to make sure you keep your mouth not so you don't be dry tonight? Do
Yes,
you
I
have?
have. I have water. I am on a wellness regiment. Typically, I would probably have a glass of wine by now on a Wednesday night because it's midweek. But
Right.
I am drinking water. I'm on a wellness regiment. So thank goodness to one of my very close friends. She gifted me a gift of wellness in my promotion. So
Awesome. Awesome. I love how you said a wellness regimen. Like,
it is. It is. I've got my handy dandy water. That's what I'm drinking.
oh, yes, with the times, those are
It
so
does.
helpful.
Yeah.
And, this is all about self care. And self care, if there's anything that is self care, it's about drinking water.
Yes.
Drink your water.
Hmm.
So awesome. Awesome. I just have a little bit of red wine. I all have the same thing. I put a little ice in it today because I'm a little warm with this long sleeve shirt on, but I'm definitely on wine time. So
That's okay. It's Wind Down Wednesday, so I encourage everyone have your sangria, your rosé, your red, your white. Go ahead and have some.
awesome, awesome. So tell the OIC family tonight a little bit about who you are, and ultimately, I want to know, why'd you agree to join us tonight?
Oh, thank you. You know what? That is a really great question. When I'm asked who I am, it's kind of hard to put it into words. So, if I had to put it into words and I put some thought into this, I would say to sum it up, I'm a woman of faith. I am a woman that values my family and my friends. And I am a woman who has fortitude to move others and organizations forward. So that's me in a nutshell. I am from Newark, New Jersey, and I'm very proud of it. I have generations of family. My parents were born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, and I love our culture, and I love all that I have and who I am that I have gained to be from my upbringing. So I'm here. Why I joined tonight, though, OIC of America, I believe their values and what you actually do lines up with my values and what I was raised in. Being raised in the inner city and being witness to so many types of not just Black families, but Hispanic families and families that were living in all different types of economic situations. Sometimes you have relatives, friends that just make choices that make life difficult. And then they need a chance to have a second chance and to start over again. And what I love about the work of OIC is that it's about opening doors for those who need a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. And for me, that lines up because I tend to be a person that loves to help people, organizations, and even loves to be challenged with helping myself through transitions.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, we certainly create opportunities for everyone. And when you talk about second and third chance, I usually say sometimes a lot of folks that we've been serving haven't had a first chance. You know,
Yes.
they haven't had a first chance. And so when I think about what you do from the coaching and from a talent perspective, you are certainly giving people chances and opportunities that they may not have been able to have had you not been in the room. So
Mhm.
we're going to get into a lot of that.
Okay.
But last time we chatted about some takeaways from our past event or
Mhm.
past episode of Wind Down Wednesdays. And what you shared with me really resonated. And I wanted you to be able to share some of your takeaways that you've experienced or reflections that you've had since
Mhm.
the episode that you had a chance to watch.
Yes. So I've had a chance to join on a few episodes, and I have to thank you for the vision and for the courage to actually develop a platform for these types of discussions. So for me, Wind Down Wednesday is a modern day mother wit circle for the working woman. That's how I
Mhm.
equate it. Growing up, I had a nana, my grandmother, my mother's mother, and she used to have the older women, her friends would come over to the house and they would sit and eat cake and drink tea and coffee and stuff like that. And they would share wisdom with myself, my sisters, they would share wisdom with anyone. And you would learn how to take care of a house, how your hygiene works. And in corporate America, I've sometimes wondered, where is that circle for working women, right?
Mm.
Where is that circle where you can just tap into casual talk that is real knowledge about what it takes to actually live, exist, and move forward within your career? And I find that that is what I get from the Wind Down Wednesdays I've attended. The one that strikes me particularly was the one with Dr. Dejan Jones. I think it was July 28th. She was wonderful, full of energy, full of so many poignant points. And one of the things that she said was that we as women of color have to get rid of the myth or the fear that we have to dethrone another woman for fear we will lose our position.
Ooh. I'm getting chills just you repeating that back.
Yeah. And it resonated with me so much so, and it caused me to reflect back on my history and my experiences in the workplace and meeting professional women of color of every age, genre, and what that experience was like. And you could absolutely see the fear and sometimes taste the actual tension.
Yes.
And if we can move past that as women in general, but as women in color, and instead of seeking to dethrone another woman when she shows up in the workplace, instead, if we can get to a place where we cultivate sisterhood, we cultivate nurturing, we create our own wisdom circle, our own safe place, we can move mountains.
Yes.
We can move mountains.
Mountains. And it's so interesting that that stood out for you as well, because one thing that I realized from that conversation, every time I thought, I'll be honest, guys, I thought women in workforce, we're gonna talk about these men and we're gonna have a little male bashing every now and then, good healthy, nothing. And every time I want to talk about misogyny in the workplace, or whatever, whoever's trying to hold us down in the workplace, every time, every woman that I spoke with reeled me back in and said, whoa, women, let's start with other women first.
Yes.
Sometimes that's our first line of defense. We got to get through that part. Like that is really that can get complicated for us. So I think that is certainly a theme, and for everyone to really just keep in their toolbox, in their backpack, and figure out how are you going to create stronger bonds, um, create more trust amongst each other in the workplace, because we are all experiencing that in different ways, but in different industries, for sure.
Absolutely.
Um, so let's talk a little bit about you, because you just mentioned, the mothers and grandmothers, they would pour into you and give you wisdom. And I know, I don't have to ask you, I know a lot of that is a part of how you got to where you are today. But in the best way you can, because I know it's a long story. How did you get from Newark to these boardrooms? Because you're a senior VP, you're in the boardroom, right? You know what's going on. And to get from where you come from to there, what was that journey like? And what were the critical, pivotal milestone moments in that journey?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'll start off. I think that my journey, the way I started, is very much what gave me the foundation to put me where I am now, right? So I started in a very positive household. So I was raised not only in Newark, but with my parents. And they were encouragers. Like, they always encouraged us to be the best, to show up as the best, that there was no ceiling if we wanted to strive for it, to strive for the stars. So I think I was raised always thinking that if I could dream it, I could have it, right? But then early part of my childhood, I started initially in a small suburban town in New Jersey. And when I turned 10, because our family is a family that pulls together, my parents made the decision to take in my nana, who was going through some health challenges and aging. And in our family, we didn't believe in nursing homes and things like that. You come, you live with us, and we move forward. So as a result, we needed to make some decisions as a family. And my parents decided, let's just move back to Newark. We're from there, we can afford it, and we can take care of everyone there. So we moved back to Newark when I was 10.
Mm.
And so I had already learned kind of how to experience life in suburban white America. I was in a small town with green grass, two Black families. They lived next door to each other. One was a Caribbean family, and then there was us. We were African American from Newark, but our roots were from North Carolina, right? So I learned kind of, okay, that's that. And then we moved to Newark, and all of a sudden I'm in the inner city. I'm in a lovely charter school, but I am now walking into a classroom filled with children that look like me, filled with hallways of teachers of color, Hispanic and Black teachers, Black principal. I had never seen that, in culture shock. And initially when I walked in, I was excited. I was like, oh, these are kids that look like me. They have hair like me.
Yes.
And I was immediately met with, oh, you think you're white. You think you're better than us. And that was my first introduction to the fact that the two worlds aren't the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the two worlds don't see me the same either.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, I ended up in corporate America because I was in a program in high school and in college called Inroads. Inroads.
Okay. Yeah.
I was in Inroads, Northern New Jersey, and they placed me in an internship. They still exist. Look them up if you have children that are looking for employment, paid internship. Mm-hmm. And they placed me in corporate America as a summer intern in HR. And when I walked into the organization, the Friday before, the organization had just laid off close to 300 employees, giving them.
Oh my goodness! You were walking into.
Now you have to think about this. This is like the early 90s. I think Reagan was in, I'm not sure. And so there was a push for affirmative action. So here I come young, here I come Black, here I come female. And no one talked to me. They thought I was just there because I was Black, and that all these people had been laid off because more people of color were coming in. So I was introduced to corporate America that way. And then I went to college at Bentley University. And that was, I'll just say this, it's a private university. And at the time when I joined, I loved it, but it was primarily white, a white private university. And only 1% of the campus, of the student population, was minority. And of that 1%, Blacks were there. Oh. Of that 1%. I learned how to exist in a very environment where I was one of very few, where I did not see a lot of me. So I built a history in corporate America, primarily in finance, mostly in talent, in learning and development, and now in learning and diversity in Fortune 500 companies. And I've just really learned some ways of navigating that particular terrain.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you were saying that you came and you did these internships and you got this job. That sounds, and you guys will hear me say, it's like, I see so much of myself in you. Just because I, again, went to Drexel University, was placed at Johnson & Johnson for internship in corporate America. And, for me at that time, it was so traumatic. Okay. And I just want to put an asterisk here.
Yeah.
That company is a great company. Great company to work for. They make a lot of amazing opportunities for people. My experience was so traumatic. So when I first was hearing about your background and everything, I said, can we just pause for a moment of silence and hold space for the traumas that you must have endured throughout your career?
I mean, no, go ahead. Okay.
I can't even imagine what you had to overcome. But you said something to me that really shocked me, and you said you thrive, right? This is your preferred
Yeah.
environment. And so we hear all these things, oh yeah, corporate America's no place for a black person, no place for black women, da 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 da. You gotta have your own business. And here you come, like, oh no, this is what I do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I do. I do. When I think about what I chose to seek after, I do thrive in conservative environments and environments where I am one of few. And what I have learned is that it always takes one to open the door and to pave the way. So they usually go through the rough terrain to create a pathway for others to come. Before we had Serena Williams and the Williams sisters, there was someone else that had the courage to walk in and be the only black tennis player. There was someone that came before them that we may not know, that helped to bring to the forefront, and also that helped to make the majority that are there feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I also just like the challenge of knowing that I can be there if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can't be there if I want to.
Yes.
Like, it's a choice, right? Like, it's not like you have to let someone in. Like, you, if that's what you choose to be, then you can take your seat there, and that's no problem.
Yes.
It is so important that, especially with you and talent, like, so many applications come through, and so many people in these organizations want to move up, and they're like, oh, I can't because of all of these suits in the office, and and here you are in there. So what does that look like for you when you're advocating for your people? I'm just going to say it that way. When you're advocating for those who don't normally have the same opportunities, how does that feel? How what does that look like in a room and you're the only one?
So that's interesting. So that look has changed depending on my level in an organization, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So one of the talents that I have and that I bring to the workforce is I've always been a very curious person. As a child, I always asked a million questions. You could never just tell me do something just because. So when I have joined organizations, they've typically been like close to 100 years old. I always like old organizations with a lot of established culture and routine. And
mm-hmm,
I am able to ask questions that bring people to an awareness, right? Bring people to an awareness. So one of the things is I ask questions around what they're looking for, what they think needs, what's best for the organization, what would be the picture of success. And then I turn the conversation talking about qualities, qualifications. So then when they want to recommend, Bruno, I'll just use a random name. I hope there's no Brunos on the call. Or they recommend someone, I'll say, well, the last 3 roles that we had, we put someone in that had the similar background and the similar look, but this person is qualified. So tell me what's the difference?
Yes.
Because their name is Khadija, help me understand. And that help me understand question will stump anyone when they're in their bias.
Oh, I love that. Help me understand.
Help me understand.
That is awesome. So, all right. So you got the secret sauce. You got the juice.
I don't know.
Okay. Help me, ladies. If y'all have a notepad, you should be ready. Help me understand. Right. Talk about the precedents. Right, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
What are some strategies we can use when we're facing some of these microaggressions and things that come across you like, oh my gosh, what do I say? If I say something, am I going to get fired? Like, what are some other strategies that you recommend if you're in these spaces and these uncomfortable situations come up?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So one of the best pieces of advice I can give any woman that is in the workplace is to take a communications class. I don't care if you take it online. I don't care if you take it at a community college. Learn how to use your words as a tool that advances you. From that class, you will learn appropriate body language that causes people to open up. You will also learn how to read body language and words. You will also learn how to communicate messages that will help you influence people. that will also help you educate people. So learn the skill of how to actually communicate. Then I would say learn how to give feedback effectively. So here's a technique that I use and I coach people on all the time. Instead of
Well, I got some
starting,
free coaching now.
it is.
Free.
Instead of starting with how you feel, because I want to be honest, the workplace does not care about your feelings. And if you are in any type of corporate America or legal environment that you're working in, it is a battlefield, right? It is a battlefield you've entered. So it's no place, a battlefield is no place for emotions or feelings. It doesn't mean don't have them. It just means they don't care. So that's like eating hot Cheetos, right? They taste so good. It feels good to get it off your chest. But really, what does it get you? Them looking at you like, she's just another super sensitive Black woman, or woman of color, right? So I would start with a technique that talks about what you notice. That's the behavior, right? So I'm going to use Minnie Mouse. Okay. So it would
Okay.
go like this. I had an experience where, and particularly sometimes women, when I'm in the boardroom or when I'm in meetings of influence, when I choose to give my opinion or my thoughts, all of a sudden everyone thinks they have the right to interrupt me, right? Interrupt me or try to define what Alicia is saying is this. What she means is that I do
Oh.
not need you to tell me what I mean, right? So one of the techniques is when you notice this, if it's someone that is more senior than you are, set up a meeting, just fit 30 minutes. Let's just have coffee. Bring them coffee if you want. Talk about what you appreciate about what they bring to the table, right? Because you can find something you appreciate. Then move into the I notice conversation. I notice that when I choose to share my thoughts, my perspective in the meetings, such as on such and such a date, this time and that time. Give them 2 or 3 examples. Let them know you've been watching for a while. I notice that when I do that, Minnie Mouse, that you interrupt me and it doesn't allow me to finish my thoughts. Can you tell me what brings that on? What causes that? Right? You ask them a question. Now they know that you caught the behavior. You don't start with feelings. They're going to say, oh, I don't notice that I do that. Oh, it's something that you said that sparked an interest. Okay, well, when you do that, I would appreciate you to allow me to finish my thought because I know it's your intention to come across, to be respectful, to be inclusive. And when you cut me off and you don't cut others off, I know it's not a habit. It's coming up as something that might show up as if you might not value my contribution. Is that true? I know that's not true, right?
You just gave it to him. You show her some love in the chat. Oh my goodness. That's not what they mean. Help me understand, right?
Yeah.
Help me
Help me
understand.
understand.
This is what I observe. I'm making an observation. This is what I'm hearing. And so what if they're like defensive and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't, you're
Well, it's hard to
crazy.
be, they probably will be defensive. However, you can also disarm that a bit. It depends. When you stick to the examples, this is why we must learn how to delay our response. It's not the first time they cut you off. For me, it can be over several times. So what I'm doing is I'm taking stock. Okay, Minnie Mouse cut me off again. Is it every time I give my opinion? Is it every time that I'm sharing a report? When is it that this person is cutting me off? So you want to kind of do your research, come up with the pattern. And when you start to label the examples, it's very hard for them to not have a response, right? And when you tell people that I know your intention, I believe your intention is that you might be excited. However, I want to talk to you about this because I'd like to finish my thoughts in meetings and I'd like to have you as a supporter. And your voice does matter, but not when it's over talking me. But maybe is there another way we could work this out?
Good. That was good. That's some good. I appreciate that free coaching you gave everybody here today. That was it just made too much sense. And when you think about keeping track. Like you can't, I think sometimes we go through these situations and then we say, oh, it's just that one time, you forget about it, and then when you're mad, you didn't keep track that actually this has happened like 10 times already. And to
Yeah.
keep track of how often it happens, what I'm hearing you say is it gives power to your, it's evidence, right? Like you're using evidence. It gives you more facts to go into this conversation with versus the emotion that you want to go into the conversation with.
Yes. Do not lead with your emotion. Do not lead.
Awesome. Awesome. So, on that note of emotions, is good segue. How are you? Like how are you handling? How are you
Mhm.
healing from past traumas, current traumas? How do you know when you need to heal? What does that look like?
Yeah. So that has been a tremendous like journey, and in all transparency, I would say healing really starts for me. It starts with, my first go-to in healing from a process is God. Like I believe in God, I trust God, I believe that He has a purpose for me, even in the tough situations. So I go to my faith, I pray. And then from there, I think I do have a very strong village of sisterhood, women that pour into me of every age, walks of life, including my mom. And I will use them as a venting, a venting village. I will do all my rants there because I know it's a safe place. And they know me well enough to calm me down and be like, okay, are you done? Right. And also to tell me when my slip is hanging, you know,
Mm,
were you
mhm.
late for that meeting? Was your time, it doesn't matter that Minnie Mouse is late 3 times. You can't be late, right? And they have the courage enough to tell me when my slip is hanging.
Mm, mm,
And I allow that space for them to tell me, right?
mhm.
Also, I do journal.
Okay.
When I'm going through very rough periods of time, I write down my emotions. It helps me to filter it out. Yeah. Helps me to filter it out, helps me to get it out on paper and to recognize that. It also helps me when I have very high periods and I'm able to see how life and careers ebb and flow through
Mhm,
that, right?
mhm, mhm,
And then the other piece that I would share is if you can afford any type of counseling, I strongly encourage it for women of color
mhm,
in the workplace.
mhm.
Counseling is one of the biggest blessings and friends you could have, especially when you come through a year like we did. We
Yeah.
have a lot on our shoulders. We
Mhm.
have sometimes more than our ancestors had,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm,
Okay, so
mhm,
I
mhm,
strongly encourage if you need to sit on someone's couch from time to time and deal with those emotions to give you coping mechanisms so that you can get it out and you're not dying later of a broken heart or
mhm,
cancer or things of that nature.
mhm,
It is important that you
mhm.
take care of your health, your wellness.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I love what you said about counseling. I love that you said counseling and not therapy. Like, I'm sure there's a scientific difference,
Mhm.
but there's such a negative connotation today around, or in the past, I don't want to say today, in the past around therapy, going to therapists and psychiatrists and shrink and all these words when their counseling, I feel like from my experience, it was closer to that experience, right? It wasn't like someone was trying to diagnose me with some type counsel. If you've never spoken to a licensed therapist or counselor, it is about just expressing yourself, having someone to talk to that
Mhm.
doesn't know everyone that you know, that you can trust because they can't pick up the phone and say, hey, guess what so and so said to me about you.
Yeah.
And it allows you to create a safer space for yourself. And so I echo that sentiment around getting counseling. Black Girls Need Therapy is a really awesome site that allows you to find um licensed professionals that look like you, may have the same background as you. I'm a woman of faith as well, so I prefer someone who also has Christianity in their repertoire, if you will. Like, you got to give me some scripture. So thank you so much for bringing that up. um I see some love in the chat. Yes, Jesus and therapy. You need both, right? Like it can't be
Absolutely.
separate. I did see a question here in the chat that I wanted to slip in. The
Okay.
question was what is the biggest challenge that you face being the only one?
Biggest challenge that I have faced throughout my entire career is building credibility and gaining sponsorship, not mentorship, sponsorship.
Mm, mm.
Mhm.
Help us understand the difference between mentorship and sponsorship.
So mentorship is important. Mentorship, you should always have a mentor at some point or several, right? They're like Lay's chips. You can't just have just one, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Mentors help to advise you. They're a sounding board, things of that nature. In organizations, when you are aspiring to move to higher heights or move to broader experiences, you need a sponsor, which is someone that has a voice and a seat at the table of influence
mhm,
who will advocate for you. They're that person that they may not be giving you advice, but they will tell you when an opportunity is coming. They
mhm,
will introduce you to others of influence. So if you're in an organization where it takes a committee of people to approve a promotion,
mhm,
then this person will introduce you to, I call it the clicks, like their click. And then
mhm,
they'll be like, you're our candidate. We're pushing you, you know?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but it's important to find sponsorship and to figure out who you can build that alliance with. Sponsors are a must in order to move up. And I've had them in every location and every career, every place that I have personally worked.
Awesome, awesome. I agree. And for the ladies out there, some of you are familiar with the term sponsor from some music that may have a different meaning, but it has a meaning in the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
it is critical to have. So if you don't have a sponsor, start finding a sponsor. Hey, can you sponsor me? No, but really build a relationship. Relationships are everything. Build a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with someone, build an alliance with someone who has that seat at the table, who is an ally, right? And this was one of my questions. It just came to me as a good segue into that question because I am a multiculturalist. Like I love learning about other cultures. I love bringing all types of cultures together. And I really want to make sure that as women of colors, people of color, we are understanding that we need to have allies in the workplace, but sometimes we're not as accepting
Yes.
of those who want to be an ally. Sometimes it's hard, and it's not like I get it. It's hard sometimes. You don't know what someone's intentions are. What are your thoughts on allyship in the workplace as it relates to how, as women, we can be more accepting of
Yeah.
allies and supportive of that process?
Well, I find we don't trust easily, right?
Mhm,
And we can represent ourselves as very guarded and
mhm,
very extremely confident in a way that people will not feel comfortable to approach us to even offer to be an ally. They don't walk up and say, let me be your ally, but if they're offering support. So I think that we have an opportunity for a couple of things. So to be more embracing of who the ally is, I would say first, know that the ally may not always come in a package that you would define this is someone I can trust.
mhm,
One of
mhm.
my biggest allies and sponsors was a woman, a Jewish woman who literally was yelling at me, right? She was a boss in that particular organization. She actually told me she would never promote a Black woman at that time.
Wow.
I have to tell you, we became very, very good friends. What ended up happening, and this was when I was much younger in my career, was that I used to be very emotional in the workplace. You know, something wasn't fair, if it wasn't ethical, if I was overlooked after working so hard, because I had the myth that if you work so hard, you could just get promoted. Oh, you're a
Right.
hard worker, you're going to get promoted. That's not how it worked. She was the first one to tell me, oh, you'll never get promoted that way.
Mhm,
And to give me that information. So sometimes finding an ally would be pay attention to who's supporting you. When you are presenting an idea, when you are running a program, who's showing up? Who's giving you feedback, even if it's constructive feedback every time, because your ally may not give you that nice, warm, fuzzy feedback. It may take them a while. They're giving you feedback that will it help you? Did it give you a different perspective, right? And who is this person in the organization? Does their opinion matter to others? And that would be someone that would show up as a potential ally for you. The other piece I would say is learn to get to know different people in the organization. Build those alliances, set up time for coffee talks, get to know their values, who they spend their time with on the weekends when they're not working, how they came to be where they are. Take an interest in other people, and allies will show up for you.
Yeah.
And then the third piece I would say is how you attract an ally depends on what you're willing to give to others. So you cannot lead or grow with a clenched fist. There must be something that you're offering to others. So sometimes allies are looking to see if your values align with theirs. Do you care about others? Are you willing to be generous to share your talent, your skills, your knowledge with others? Or are you always self-serving? And then allies will show up for you.
And allies will. And then your ally might turn to your sponsor, and then here
Yes.
you are, senior vice
Yes.
president.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That is just some good information. I hope you ladies are taking notes.
I hope it's
Show
helpful.
Alicia some love in the chat because she is giving you all some valuable information, and I'm seeing a lot of affirmations in the chat. There are a lot of people who are agreeing. They have sponsors, and they are really thriving in the workplace. I know some of these folks, so I know they're like, yeah, she's telling the truth. She is telling the truth.
Can I also cut in for a minute?
Absolutely.
One key, and someone that commented in the chat just sparked my other tip. One key is that you can find an ally or a sponsor by getting to know people in various levels. So I always make friends with the administrative assistants, with the receptionist, with the head of facilities or maintenance, because they actually see who people are when they come and go. They know when they have bad days. They'll give you the cue that'll say, oh, you know what? Don't go today and ask for anything.
Right.
And that is sometimes key for timing and opportunity. So they can also show up as an ally for you and a supporter.
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're right. If you don't know, if you're not in good with the admin, front desk, you're going to have a hard time getting good information because they know everything that's going on.
They do.
Okay. I'm looking at the time and I got a couple. I'm almost through all my questions. Alicia, are you proud of me? I have so many questions for her, and I just said, I'm not going to get through all of these. I am not going to let you go without getting into this banking industry piece, right? You are an expert in this space. And I've been seeing a lot of conversations online that's been tearing me up inside whenever someone talks about financial literacy for poor people. Okay. And they always say, oh, that's so disrespectful. The last thing you need to do, the last thing a poor person needs is a financial literacy class. They need more money first. That's disrespectful. Why are you're talking above their heads and da 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 da. And in our program, we pride ourselves on having financial literacy classes. And so I wanted an expert to come on and say, why is financial literacy workshops, classes, seminars so critical to someone who is making minimum wage?
It is critical to not only those that make minimum wage, but anyone who has any type of money coming in. That would be your little ones that have a piggy bank. That would be your grandmama who keeps your Medea, her money in her chest like my Nana used to do, right? That would be your uncle who puts his cash under the mattress because he doesn't trust banks and institutions. That would be your millionaires like MC Hammer, TLC, all of them. That would also be anyone making minimum wage. Financial literacy is a lifeline, okay? People are empowered by the knowledge that they are given. So my question is, don't we go to experts for everything else? We go to visit doctors. When we have a legal case, we go and find a lawyer. We have teachers who teach our kids. We have, even with our technology, they have Geek Squad and people that you take your devices to fix your technology. Why is it that we, in economic situations at every level, those making 6 figures, 7 figures, do not think it is valuable enough to educate ourselves on money? You can make money. And we have to dispel the myth that the more money I have, the more money I make, the more money I have. That is a myth. If that was the case, people who made wealth of money would never go bankrupt.
Right.
The key is you must learn how to manage money, how to save, how to grow it and invest it, and how to budget. That is something that if we teach people in minimum wage, if we teach those in our community how to do that, you will teach them how to fish and feed them for a lifetime. Legacy will be built.
Absolutely.
Legacy.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's on the record. Okay. All right. Next question here. How does one make a shift in their career today? Right. And I want to put an emphasis on today. It's a different time.
Right.
It's not the same. How does someone make a shift in their career today that is smart, tactful, and just the right there's a strategy there, right? It's strategic.
Yes. So there is a number of ways to do that I provide coaching around. But I would say your shift can happen. So you must believe that you can make a shift at any point in your life. So the first thing is you want to sit down, give yourself a good hour, and take a self-assessment. Do some inventory. You've been sitting in one industry for a period of time, or you've been doing a hodgepodge of things. And I'd like you to sit with a sheet of paper. Yes, I'm old fashioned, not your text, not your device to my millennials. You're going to sit with a sheet of paper and a pen, and you're going to draw 4 quadrants. So make a big T on the notepad. In that, you're going to title each section. You're going to have 4 sections. One would be skills. The other side would be knowledge, right? The other cube would be gaps. So that would be gaps in experience or skills or knowledge. And then the 4th one would be exposure. You're going to ask yourself these questions. What skills do you have? And skills don't necessarily mean, oh, I worked at Starbucks. When you work at Starbucks, you get to learn customer service. You get to learn time management. You get to learn product knowledge. These are skills. You get to learn how to sell, right? These are skills. You're then going to think of the knowledge that you have. What training have you experienced? Certifications, education. Even if you took a class here or there and didn't gain a certification, start to begin to list the knowledge. And then be honest with yourself, gaps. What are the gaps? So don't just come up and say, oh, I want to be a VP. I want to be a manager. Have I ever managed anyone? Have I ever delegated work to anyone? So if you're a mom that's been out of the workforce for a while, guess what? You have some skills, especially if you're running a household of multiple people. You have time management. I'm tired of people saying, oh, they don't have any skills. They haven't worked for a while. That is a myth. Do not believe that lie. Time management. You have the ability to delegate. You have the ability to prioritize, because I'm sure you have multiple things. The kids aren't waiting for you. There's multiple things going on. You have the ability to communicate and to negotiate. Those are skills that are transferable. Okay. And then I would say get feedback. So once you do your chart, take that, go get feedback. Ask your friends, ask people you've worked with, ask anyone that you've worked with. What should I start doing to be better? What should I stop doing to be better, to improve? What should I continue doing? Okay.
I love start, stop, continue. Like that's got to be one of the most valuable tools I've ever used.
I love it. And when you're thinking of the next position or an industry you want to get into, start asking, what should I start doing, stop doing, continue doing?
Mm-hmm.
that would be helpful. That will get you more information. Then research, please research before you apply for any jobs. Look at the job descriptions of companies you want to work for, positions you want to have. Begin to meet people that have been in that area. Use LinkedIn. If you found someone working and they're a practitioner in that area, you want to be an entrepreneur, a baker, meet bakers. Right?
Meat
You want to own a
bakers.
daycare, meet people who work and own a daycare. Right? And find out from them what they think it takes to enter that field.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll
Mm-hmm.
find, and then you'll come up with a plan, and you might need someone to help you with that, but you can make the transition.
Awesome. Awesome. Look, if you had to put your if someone wants to hire you, how would they how would they do that if
You
they
can
want
reach out to me on LinkedIn.
to
You can
reach
reach
out
out to me on
to
LinkedIn.
Alicia on LinkedIn because she's saying some good stuff and she knows this is what she does. Yeah, she's CVP and she does, she works in the banking industry. She's helping people talent develop. She's a coach. And
Thank
she
you.
is coaching all of us right now. I cannot believe it's 8:58. I'm like,
Uh,
is someone gonna kick me off here? Like, I don't know. But I saw a brother had a question in the chat, and I was
uh-huh.
like, that's a good question. I'm trying to scroll back to it, and I have to ask this question.
Okay.
I hope you guys can. You still have time. Give me like 5 more minutes because this is some good stuff. When we're talking about this, women working, you got a husband, that extra sauce into the mix, right?
Mhm.
Jeff asked, how can a husband or significant other support a woman deeper than just a surface level? And I'm going to put that into the context of when wife comes home from work
Mhm.
and there's children and husband at home. How can a husband, from your perspective and what you've seen in this industry, be more supportive than just the surface level? And I'm defining surface level as give her a hug and kiss, baby. Thank I love you. You're home. Great. Yeah, I picked up the kids from school. Okay, that's surface level,
Yeah.
right? What else can they do?
So, and I'm speaking because I'm a single woman at this time. I can't really say that I've been married and this is my husband and he's done X, Y, Z. But I would say when your woman comes home and she's experienced some sort of trauma in the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
or she has just been exhausted, because sometimes the workplace is like receiving a million paper cuts.
Mm-hmm.
They're annoying and painful, but when you get a lot of them, they kind of get in the way and they affect how you move, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they take some time to heal.
Mm-hmm.
I would say be a vessel for her to receive a pouring in. Her esteem has been beat up. She is sometimes feeling used up, cast aside, and
Mm-hmm.
devalued. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, depending on what her love language is, you need to pour back into her.
Mm-hmm.
So remember that you're responsible for your relationship. God teaches us it's a cultivation. So if you have your withered flower come home, and I'm not saying that in a weak way, but if she comes home and she's withered, she needs some watering more than
Mm-hmm.
just I made dinner, I ordered out, you don't have to do the laundry. Sometimes you need to hear, you are valuable.
Mm.
Sometimes you need to reiterate to her, babe, hey, you've always been a builder.
Mm-hmm.
You build everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they need to hear it's okay if you want to step away.
Mhm.
You're still
Mhm.
strong.
Mhm.
I still believe in you.
Mhm.
That goes a long way because no one in the workplace is saying that.
Nope. No one is. Shout out to my husband because he does those things. And
Yay.
I'm very appreciative of him. And I'm glad that he's meeting the mark based on some of the things that you've described as examples. So uh shout out to Mr. Crippen. Um so I think we are here. And
Wow.
before we leave, I want you to share if there's any final thoughts. There's a lot of women in the room. My mama's here. My mama in love is here. Your community's here. The OIC network is here. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave as a final thought before we depart?
Absolutely. So I will share this. I know when you tune into webcasts like this, it looks like everyone has it all together and that sometimes the spirit of comparison can come in. What I'll share is that you can make it. You can achieve exactly what you aspire to be. And if you believe that for yourself, I know that. And I know it to be a fact. You do not need to be a statistic of circumstances. And I speak from experience. I'm a single mother. I have a beautiful son that I absolutely adore. But after this past year, when we had so much to manage, right? Time and schooling and dealing with aging parents, dealing with death due to COVID, dealing with lack of income because we lost jobs, you can make it. Everything you absolutely need is already in you to make it. Everything. But I want you and I want to challenge each of you to make the time to spend time with yourself. Do the chart, the T chart I talked about, right? Identify your strengths, identify your contributions, and then go out and seek how to do it. And trust me, I believe God will show you the path and will show you the way. You can do it. I look forward to hearing great things from all of you. And I love you so much for inviting me. I'm so humbled to be a part of this conversation and this wonderful, wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just got you all before I take her off. Show her some love in the chat. Put some hearts up. Some little dancing ladies. I know there's like a 2-3 second delay, so I'm gonna let them come in. But thank you, thank you, thank you for
Thank
pouring
you.
into us. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing your experiences. Thank you for giving us examples. Thank you for giving us some pro bono coaching.
Yes,
And just
absolutely.
thank you for your service, because I know that the work that you've done in these corporate settings has helped out plenty of women of color, people of color, and their families as well. So thank you for your service. I appreciate that.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful night. Have a wonderful night. Well, that was some good coaching. I'm calling that coaching session because we really had a chance to learn, grow, and take some tools. We have real tools that we can use. And so, for anyone who is with us, if you do your T chart and you've seen something revealed, let us know. Come to our page, our Instagram page, Facebook page, this YouTube replay. Tell us what you found. Tell us what happened. Tell us what your next path is going to be. And if anyone wanted to get in touch with OIC of America to continue to join these conversations, if you know that there's a woman who should be here, let us know. Send us a note. You can always email us. info@oicofamerica.org is our email address. You can leave a comment, DM us. There's a million ways to get in contact with us. But I just want to thank everybody for joining us for this edition of Women in Workforce Wind Down Wednesdays. Again, tonight is our last night to dedicate to Tanika before these kids go to school. So if you have not donated already, please text OICA to 45777. You can go to our website, oicofamerica.org, to donate to Tanika. And we can't wait to show you all the wonderful things that we've been able to do for her in our program. And on that note, I want to thank everybody for taking time out their evenings to join us. And we will be back in 2 weeks for our next edition of Women in Workforce Wind Down Wednesday. I'm your host, Letitia Crippen, and you all have a wonderful, fabulous, beautiful, safe, cool evening.